Yo, what's up, guys? I'm Magi here on Beast Coast FGC, and it's day one of the MultiVersus public closed alpha thing. And I just wanted to do a really quick guide on Harley because I have a lot of hours into her randomly. I played during the NDA version of the game, like the beta test, alpha test, whatever. So I have a lot of experience with her, and they also changed her this patch, but I just have a lot of stuff to say, so I'm just going to kind of get into it. And yeah, hopefully this is helpful to any of the other day one Harley players.
Are you some scrub who can't handle plus frames? Do you cry every night at the thought of Happy Chaos shooting you full screen? Do you think Wouse loused, even though louse just Faust? Well, do I have the offer for you? Tell him, Lord Knight.
What?
Subscribe to the Beast Coast FGC channel today.
So this game is really weird, especially if you have previous like Smash or platform fighter experience. This isn't very similar to most of them, I would say. Like, especially Melee doesn't really have like a lot of one-to-one comparisons for, primarily because there's no shielding. That's like a big one. There's no like wave dash or like that type of movement. There's no dashing. There's just one like type of generic dash movement, ground movement or whatever. So there's like a lot of weird things you kind of have to know about the game already. And I would just, before anything related to the guide, I would just say be prepared to like not be able to really use your previous experience with platform fighters in this game because it's just like a little bizarre. The other main thing, of course, this is mostly a teams-based game. And so it's kind of hard to do an individual character tutorial without the context of teams, but I just want to talk about her individually and some of the things you're going to be looking for in your team's games. So Harley's an assassin. So her main priority is to kind of put the opponent in juggle situations or off stage and to kind of just close off kills. She has really powerful kill moves like close to the blast zone, and like she can just like constantly put you in bad situations, for example, like with her fair. So like a lot of time you're going to be like spamming fair, getting them off stage and just trying to like kind of edge guard with the fair. That's like her main area where a lot of her moves start working. Like her up B, her fair, and her down air are all really, really good at just killing really early. And so that's like the general strategy we're going to be building the entire character around. But let's just go over all of her moves. So her, depending on what control scheme you use, I'm using the control scheme where this is the forward air and this is the neutral air. It's weird. They like decided to swap the two in this game. If you scroll towards your keyboard, the side and neutral attack, by default, they are swapped compared to the Smash counterparts, where in Smash, your neutral attack is by not holding a direction and your forward is by holding a direction. And for some reason, they just swapped them around this game. So it gives you the option to enable it. So I am using this guide under the assumption that you have activated the setting, and neutral attack is what it would be if it were in Smash. So just as to try to clear confusion. One of her main combo starters is her jabs. So the full string is this 4-hit, Rekka, I guess you want to call it that. But basically from here, you can do the normal 4-hit attack, or if you hold down, you can go into her down tilt, I guess. It's weird. There's no tilts and smashes. It's just raw attack. So you can cancel your neutral attack into your down attack and get this 5-hit string. You can rack up like a little damage. That's kind of one of her weird things, is that she doesn't do too much damage. That's why she's kind of the assassin. Like, there are characters that are brawlers that are like, they have really strong attacks that kill from the center of the stage. Her main thing is getting close to the blast zones and trying to like finish them off and like, pick up passes from the teammate, where like if your teammate juggles them and puts them close to the top blast zone, you want to like finish with your up B. But she wants to use most of her tilts to kind of like help her build damage, and then you want to eventually, like, you can cancel the jabs into the upward grounded attack. And sometimes that leads into the juggles where you can use your up airs and up Bs to, go into like a bigger move. One thing that's weird about the jabs, and what I was mainly going to focus on in the guide, is that there is this forced bounce state that happens after the second one. Is the third one? Is the third one. You see that bounce? You can combo off of that. You want to use this bounce in her jabs to, like, assuming your opponent doesn't mash dodge. There's an interesting like amount of things you can do off of this bounce. Like, you can do this big string that I'm doing where after the bounce happens, I'm jumping and doing a down air. And then after the down air, I'm comboing that into an up air. And then after that, you can combo into an up B. That is what happens when your opponent doesn't do anything. And technically that's possible, even if your opponent's trying to get out of it. Because this game's defensive mechanic is dodging. What ends up happening a lot of time when you do this is that as soon as they bounce, they start mashing the dodge and they instantly get out. And technically you do have a window where you can hit this. It's just really, really, really tight. And the reason I want to bring this up is because I think this is where a lot of the game is going to kind of revolve around, is this dodge mechanic and like trying to go for harder reads on like your opponent dodging there, right? Like what I just did there, where I'm trying to like pick the direction where I think they're gonna go and then just like try to get a big read. It's hard to make a guide on one specific character because a lot of the characters, like they don't have like really, really long combos that like, you know, lead into like kills by themselves. Generally, you're gonna have like, you're gonna win neutral, you're gonna get like your little string, you rack up some damage, and then you're gonna have to like, as soon as like the combo ends, you kind of take a step back, see where your teammate is, and see like if they need help or if there's a kill opportunity, you can bounce off of it. Basically, this game is like really weird with not having really long combos and really long like individual things you're gonna be doing. It's really plain like the combo tree that you're gonna go for a lot of the time. Like one thing that she can do actually is she can cancel her jabs into her strong attacks, right? There it goes. Okay, so I guess at like really, really, really high percents, you can get this to combo. And again, like this kind of sets up for that situation that you want, where like they're off stage and now you can like, you know, you basically choose between like whether you think they're gonna go forward or if they're gonna go up. Next thing I wanted to talk about, as far as like specific strategy goes, there is her neutral special, which acts very similarly to Snake C4. That's why it's like it's interesting the way that she works. She's like this assassin character that has a lot of mobility and she can kill, and she like use like a lot of her like all of this stuff to like, you know, get kills. But she's also kind of a setup character because of her neutral B. She can throw this onto a character and like kind of use it as C4, and you detonate it by using neutral B again. And so a lot of the time you kind of use these opportunities to be close to the blast zone, and you have like a C4 stuck on them. Once you have them at like a decently high percent, like 50, and you get them close to the blast zone, oops, you can sometimes use that to actually kill, which of course I didn't pick the right percent for this to happen. There you go. And that kind of changes how you want to play the game too, in terms of like what risk you want to take, and like, you know, just generally setting up like which character are you going to target during your games. Because again, you're not gonna be able to rack up too much damage by yourself because of like the way that combos work, and like that's really the only consistent thing you're gonna be able to get is like this down air into like something. By the way, I should have went over my perks. I think glove control is like almost certainly the best perk for her. Being able to stall in the air and aim this down air is like kind of insane. It helps a lot with edge guarding, and it also helps a lot with just like continuing combos, and like even just the stall is kind of a big deal. Her generic one is like as like good at like you go straight down when you use this one. You can still charge it, but like you can't aim it or anything, so it's like a lot more awkward to use. With the glove control, it is much, much, much easier, and you can do like a lot more stuff with that. And like honestly, this is like a pretty good, it's pretty hard to whiff punish in this game because every character's moves are so big. So this is like a really good tool to just kind of like full hop in place, let like see what's going on, and then like maybe like get a big combo starter off this, and then like converting that into like some string like that. That's why like when you have like a C4 stick on them, you kind of want to like look for your down air, land down air, get up air, up B, and then like, you know, set up for more juggles, and just trying to, this is like your main goal of the game, is just like to do a lot of up airs and up Bs and like, you know, kill. This character is like the assassin, like literally like you are just trying to kill a lot of the time. I wish I had some actual gameplay examples, but I guess it's hard to explain why I think it's as simple as that, because a lot of the ways that the game plays out, like you're gonna just like get your stray hits and like, you know, you're gonna do all this stuff or whatever. But a lot of the time, like if your teammate just has a juggle, or maybe like they're at higher percents and like you kind of just land a stray hit, like a lot of the time, like in my games, I feel like I'm just doing a lot of this, like full screen, like just approaching with the fair. And like from there, you can kind of like maybe get like a little juggle, like a setup where, again, like you send them off stage, they have to kind of recover like a little high. I hate how fast like some of the recovery time in this game is. Like, okay, there you go. So you like set up like you set up situations like that where they're off stage, they're at high, or they're like higher positioned or whatever, and you get a juggle off that. Actually, I'm just gonna go into the forward air because I think this is kind of important with her. Because of every character having big moves, some characters have swords and some characters have projectiles. It's kind of hard for Harley to get in with like her other attacks. So she kind of has to use her forward air a lot as her main approach tool or like defensive tool. It's hard to get combos off of it, but one thing that's nice is it does cause that little bounce. So sometimes like I've gone in games where I literally just do like double fair like that. And like I instantly set up for like a decent off-stage situation. The weird thing about her forward air is that the sweet spot is actually on the part where it goes between her legs. That's where it hits a little bit stronger. You have to kind of like account for that sometimes. Like when you're going for a whip punish, like sometimes you can like full hop double jump in place and then like aim it, charge it, and then like as you land, like it kind of like you hit with like the back part. And because of the way this game works, like you can turn around in the air. So like you can kind of just like jump towards them and then like switch directions immediately if you want to go for a more precise hit. A lot of the time it may not even be worth it unless it actually kills. So like you can keep the front side because the front side has more range, but like it's something to keep in mind. Sometimes you can use it as coverage where like I've been in situations where like I've done like a charged attack whenever they're like kind of this area on the screen. And because of the way the hitbox kind of like ends up at the end, sometimes they'll like dodge into you. They'll avoid the beginning part of the hitbox and then they'll get hit by the late part of the hitbox. And because there's no teching in this game, the strong hit will like bounce them into the wall and they'll just kind of die instantly. This is like a really, really important tool with I think a lot of the things she's going to be doing in neutral. Her nair is pretty good too. There's like a way you can kind of treat it like Falcon's nair where like I call this, or like it's kind of called the whizzing nair. It's when you do the nair, you let it stick out for a second, and then you fall with the second hitbox. So like instead of it being like 2 kicks, it's kind of like this giant sword of like a hitbox that comes down. This is a pretty good tool to like you can also use to approach. The issue is still that like most characters have such big hitboxes and like characters are like dodging around a lot. Like characters are just kind of hard to hit in this game in general. So it's a little bit more awkward to hit them with this type of move, especially because it's not disjointed. So it's like, it'll trade pretty poorly with a lot of things. And like, you can sometimes get things off of it. So like, you can go into the jabs. Whenever you turn on the dodge mechanic in this game, like that's when you really see like, it's really difficult to get like really solid openings with stuff like this. Like you have to be like obnoxiously precise to like actually land this, which is why I think like a lot of the time, because of how difficult it is to get like a solid opening like that, you're better off just using the forward air a lot of the time because it's just like gonna be like it's gonna be your big hit that'll get you like some damage. It'll get some positioning. Again, Harley kind of just needs to be available to finish off kills as much as she can. She can like start harassing with her neutral B. She also has this down B. I didn't really talk about that much. It's just like a proximity mine. If characters like get hit into it, let me try to hopefully just, there he goes. It blows up. So sometimes what you want to do is if you have the triple jump, there are these perks to also explain. The perks in this game, they stack depending on if you and your teammate both have them. Also, I should just also say there's perks in this game. That's like a little weird for a platform fighter or fighting games in general, but there's perks. And if you and your teammate have a similar perk, you get a stronger perk. And triple jump is one of her best perks because obviously she's going to be like jumping around trying to kill a lot. So you want to have as much air mobility and like as much like aerial potential as you can, which is why like my build for the game right now is I use triple jump and I use, well, this one you can kind of choose whatever. I think like increased jump height and increased base movement speed, like this is all good. I can also use air acceleration. I think this is like a pretty good layout. Like she jumps enough where like you can kind of justify it. And like, especially when you have triple jump, like this like ends up being kind of relevant, you know, because of how dependent she is on like taking advantage of these situations. That's why it's really important for her to kind of just like have the ability to be at almost anywhere on the screen because she's like a little weaker. She doesn't have as big of hitboxes besides her fair. And like, she can get her combos off the down air into this, but like otherwise, like, you know, her main role is just to be ready to like, you know, fish for down airs, fish for forward airs, but mostly just look for these advantage situations so that she can finish the kill. I guess like some other like bonus things to look out for. Her recovery is because of the way this game works. So it has, and whenever you're in the air, you have 2 dodges, you have 2 B moves and 2 jumps or 3 depending on your perks. And so a lot of the time what you're looking to do is you're going to use her side B to push you horizontally towards the stage first, and then you can use the rest of your resources after that. I'm kind of bad at remembering to do side B first, but this allows you to have a side B, and then if you don't touch the wall, you have access to one more up B. I think you can even do double side B if you want. Yeah, you can double side B. It's mostly focusing on your side B and your up B to bring you back. There's like a stall with her down B, but like that's mostly like counterplay for edge guarding. And the main objective is just to make it back to the wall. Like, because like the way this game works, touching the wall counts as touching the ground, so you get all your resources back. So a lot of time, like, you can use her air mobility, like you can use her up B and like her stalls and everything to kind of wait your opponent out before they, like, you just kind of want to kill time, right? Like, because this is so doubles centric, your opponent is gonna like be on a timer to try to edge guard you, so you kind of just have to like navigate your way around them and then make it to the wall so that you can like go back, and like you can even kind of camp off stage like a little bit because of like, you know, the way that this game works. You do have to be careful. A lot of characters have like really strong down airs that like will spike you, so you have to like, well, what's convenient about her though is that she has like this really big hitbox recovery, so like if you're in the spot, you can kind of like touch the wall and like start spamming up B, and like they can't really fuck with you too much. Like you can up air too, like, but she's like pretty good at recovering, especially with how big her jumps are and like how far she can go. Her biggest downside is that she's very light, so she dies really early if you're not too careful. But with just like good awareness, like using your dodges right, using your side Bs, like it's pretty easy to recover. I think one thing that I think is important too is that you can fast fall like this side B, so like you can go from up here and then go down immediately and make it to the wall, and it's like kind of hard to like edge guard all of that because like your full momentum forward is like 4 blocks on this training mode screen or whatever. But if you hold down, then like you only travel to the first block and then like you're already down there. So like using that to recover, I think is really, really important to keep in mind. Yeah, besides that, you know, I think this is like probably the bread and butter I would most recommend practicing is just down air, immediately up air, and then immediately jump up B. I forgot to mention that. Her up B has a lot of startup, but it's like a little bit stronger whenever you do it on the ground, but when you do it in the air, it's pretty fast. So like if you do like the string, he's at too high % now. If you do this string off the down air, it doesn't combo if you do a grounded up B, but if you do an aerial up B, it does combo. Come on, there you go. Finally, I think what direction you're facing matters for that combo specifically. You have to hit with the front side of it. But also something to keep in mind, I think is really important too, is at high percents, the up air is mostly for damage. Like this doesn't like actually help too much with the kill. At higher percents, you can just go for down air into up B, which is like more than fine, especially at these percents where like you basically just get like a guaranteed, like it's a little bit weird because of the way the down air works. It kind of like hits and then they hit the ground and then they wait a second and then they go. And you kind of want to hit them as they're rising from the ground because there's like enough DI in the game to kind of make it inconsistent. If you hit like the end of the string or whatever, you want to kind of hit it early on in the string. So this is again like you do the up air for damage, and then high percents you want to switch back into just doing the up B straight off the down air, and like that will kill eventually. There you go. That's why this game is really weird. Like, she kind of needs platforms to get like a lot of these kills to like really work. And again, like because like most of the time she's gonna be hitting like raw up Bs with like in the middle of games like this, right? Like that actually is a perfect situation that like describes the whole game. A lot of the time you're kind of just like babysitting them while you're juggling. You're trying to like encourage them to like dodge. Like if you kind of just need to threaten them enough for them to be scared enough to dodge a lot, like while they're in the air. And then from there, you kind of just need to like hard read their dodges, where like if they're gonna air dodge down, you want to put the up B kind of like right below them. Or if they air dodge, like that's what I meant, like where you go like he air dodged down and I immediately was like on him like there, and like that's how you're gonna get your early kills in the game. Like you can get a kill like as soon as like 40 and 60 if like you have a good enough read and you're close enough to the blast zone or like you're close to the top platform or whatever. So I would say like that's kind of like most often what the game is gonna look like, is like you're gonna like kind of babysit them. You do like your big combo like down air, up B at like 90, and then you read one of their dodges, a lot of the time newbie people just kind of air dodge straight down every time. So like that's why I think the string is so good, because it immediately sets up for this situation where you can just read them once with the up B and they die. Off stage is like a little bit more difficult, which is why like I think this is like more important to learn, is that like, yeah, when they're off stage, like on this side, you have to like be good about like keeping track of where they are, and like going for reads like that, where like you use the down air, read the side B, and then like you just finish off with the second down air and you get a kill off that. But it gets a lot more complicated because they can recover high, so sometimes you have to read it with a high up B. Sometimes they go like horizontally, so you have to like go straight with the forward air. It's kind of hard to set up the down air to cover like both the horizontal and the downward one, and like because the thing turns around so slowly, you can't really like, you kind of have to commit whenever you go for the down air. Like you can like kind of like, you have a second to react and change your mind, but like most of the time you're kind of committed by the time you like jump in the air and pick a spot to like choose, literally, right? I would say that is all of the important steps, which is basically, in a nutshell, you want to use like her down air to set up like a pretty consistent combo. You can use her jabs too whenever you land them to like rack up some damage by just like, you can just mash the attack button. Sometimes you go straight into the up attack. Sometimes you get a kill here if you have like a high enough percent, like you can get this to kind of work. But like that's at the really, really high percent, which is honestly not that uncommon in this game. It feels like people do survive for a long time. So like keeping in mind your jab confirms that it will just kill is a good idea. As well as just like, again, mostly just be available to actually finish off your opponent, because like that's like a lot of this game is just being, or a lot of this game with this character, is you just want to be ready to like kill whenever the opportunity presents itself, because like that's your main like ability in the game. Your attacks aren't that strong, even like it takes until like the 180s before the smash attacks really start doing anything that'll like kill. So a lot of time you're just using these as like to get positioning, to get like advantage spots to where they have to start dodging, and like getting reads on those is like a lot of this character. And then also using your special moves to kind of like make it to where you may like kill even earlier, because like they have this D4 stuck on them, and in the right spot, you might just like, I don't know, like land something like this and they're close to the blast zone. Okay, you dare just dodge out of it. But, you know, using the down B if you really want to, if you have the triple jump, like you can place it really high up so that it's even like more consistent to like get kills off of it. I would say one thing to look out for when you're practicing, pay attention to how the two special moves things affects you in the air whenever you're comboing specifically, because like with her, like I'm doing a lot of up Bs and a lot of like, you know, if you have the neutral B stick, on them, like you have to be like kind of like micromanaging like how many B moves you have, because like if you do this, there's like if you have a neutral B available, like if you only use one up B, then you can like instantly detonate the thing. Let me do instant. If I do something like up B again, then it takes a while for me to be able to use my my C4 charge. So you have to like keep in mind that like you need to do it once and then immediately use it, because that way you can like, I don't know why it's kind of weird, because like activating the neutral the C4 charge, what is it? It doesn't count as using a neutral B in the air, so you can use two up Bs and then detonate the charge. It's just like the way they chose to answer that is by just making it to where you can't instantly do it. So it's just something to keep in mind, I think, because it's just like oddly relevant in that specific scenario where like, oh shit, like I have the C4 charge, they're next to the blast zone. Oh, I didn't realize that like because I didn't have the neutral B charge, it didn't let me activate it and I didn't get the kill because of it. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. But yeah, overall, I think that covers most of the things that I know. Again, this is my day one impression. Sorry I was a little scattered. I didn't really like put together like all of the specific details, because it's this game is just really hard with specific details. It's way more about focusing on your doubles, focusing on what your teammate can do, and like what their moves do, what your opponent's moves can do, and just like, I think that's why Harley's honestly a pretty good character if you're just starting off and like you kind of just want to like contribute to the game. You don't really need to know too many details. You just need to know how to like just use your up B to kill, you know, take advantage of like her big forward air, charge so you stall in the air a little bit, and like, you know, mix up your timings and all that stuff. You know, that's like a lot of her character. I think that's gonna be pretty like reflected at as the game progresses too. Like I think most characters are just going to be like kind of generic, like role players in specific situations, and like you're not going to see too much like character specific stuff unless the character is like very technical. Like I saw like Tom and Jerry is like a very technical character, and there's probably like a lot more character detail, but with her it feels like she's pretty standard, just like has combos, has like a purpose to like be close to the blast zones and kill. She has high mobility, so like she's really good at just like, you know, getting around, like making it to her teammate. Honestly, like this move is like something that I've been thinking a lot about, is like her side B, and just like using that to like, you know, just go crazy. This character's crazy. I think that's like the best way to put it. She definitely fits her aesthetic very, very well with her strategy. But I think that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully more down the line, like maybe next week or just near the end of the open alpha, I'm going to probably do a part 2 where I try to have like a more refined version of this, where I have like a lot more of the feel for the game, because although I have like a decent amount of hours, there's still just like a lot to figure out, especially with like her new version, because her old version was way funnier. I wish I got to do a tutorial on that one, because like everything that I did would just like kill at like 0. It was really funny. But yeah, anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments if there's like more specific questions you would want to be answered in like a similar guide for Harley, like at the end of the beta test, and let me know how it goes, if it goes well and stuff. So make sure you subscribe, like the video, comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time.